last Saturday in Madrid, something incredible happened. It was the Clásico between Real Madrid, who were at home, and Barcelona. Real Madrid are well on their way to winning their 35th Spanish title, and Champions League fans will have seen them do a job on PSG last week, which was really extraordinary and very, very impressive. Yet, playing at home to Barcelona last Saturday night, they were hammered 4-0. It's a huge result in a Clásico, which is a huge event in Spain. And, of course, Barcelona has, as a club, imploded in recent seasons, very sadly. But there's a new Barcelona, and this 4-0 victory in Madrid appears to have sealed that deal. And we're joined now from Spain by Richard Fitzpatrick from Barcelona. Indeed, Richard is an Irishman working as a journalist in Spain. And last Friday, the day before the Barcelona match, the Irish Times ran a piece that Richard had written talking about the renaissance at Barcelona and predicting that there would be plenty of goals in the Clásico. Richard, your piece was very good and it was spot on. How big a surprise was the 4-0 win first?
Oh, it was a very big surprise in Madrid. They couldn't believe it. I mean, it was 4-0 on the scoreline, but it could easily have been 6 or 7. Look, there's a context for it.
Yeah,
Real
and
Madrid.
that's what we want to get to.
Yeah.
Because the piece you wrote really explained some of the shocking stuff that was going on, including corruption at Barcelona, that led to the club, really imploding, as I said. And of course, the other big part of this story is the return of Xavi, one of their great players in their golden era. And not just Barcelona's golden era, of course, but Spain's golden era when they won the European Championship and the World Cup. Xavi Hernandez, a legendary figure, and his return is a huge part of your story, isn't it, Richard?
Yeah, I think there's a few things there, Eamon. Definitely the corruption and the finances at Barca. I think the finances need to be explained a bit because there's a lot of misinformation there. And also, my gosh, the impact of Xavi has been extraordinary in only 4 months. Before moving on to that, though, there are mitigating circumstances for Real Madrid's performance. As you say, they're running away with another league title now. They're 12 points ahead of Barca, although Barca have a game in hand. So, they were complacent. Their captain, Nacho, after the game said they were too relaxed. They had that emotional victory against PSG in the Champions League. So they had the foot off the gas. And as we know, like big derbies, you see it with Man United and Liverpool or Celtic Rangers, they're one-off events. So the form guide goes out the window a lot of the times for them. And Real Madrid had won 5 Clásicos in a row. So Barca, we're going to get them at some stage. But to talk a bit about Xavi, he has had an amazing impact, like in as I say, in only 4 months. When he took on the club, it was a very brave decision by him. They were 9th in the league table. It wasn't even so much the performances were so poor. Their squad had been denuded during the summer because of financial problems. But it was just the hysteria around the club, obviously, in particular because of the loss of Messi. There was a lot of rancor there, a lot of finger pointing, and the team was playing really without confidence, and they got murdered 3-0 by Bayern Munich in the Champions League group stages, 3-0 embarrassingly defeat to Benfica as well. In the pool stages, they could only score 2 goals in 6 games. Bayern Munich scored 22 in the same number of games. So he really had a poor hand coming in. Although you could say it couldn't have got worse. 3 coaches have been sacked in less than 2 years. They couldn't have gone further downhill. They still had the bones of a good squad there. If all their players were fit, they had a very good starting 11. So things worked in his favour coming in. He got key players back, particularly Pedri, who's just an amazing player.
He's very young, isn't he?
Yeah, still only 19. Golden Boy winner last year. The junior Ballon d'Or winner.
Yes.
He was immense at the Euros, getting Spain within a whisker of the final last summer. He's just such a beautiful player to watch. Xavi compares him to Andres Iniesta. So he's the real deal. So he had missed the first few months of the season because of injury, because he'd been flogged for the national team. They sent him off to the Olympics after the Euros. So he got Pedri back. Dembele, who's a problem case, has been fit as well the last couple of months. And critically, they spent in the winter transfer window, they got the money together to buy Ferran Torres from Man City. He's fitted in well on the left side up front. They paid 55 million for him, and they got Adama Traore from Wolves. He's been useful, but the major signing was Aubameyang. People can't understand what was happening at Arsenal.
Arsenal fans would be wondering where that Aubameyang, who's turned up in Barcelona, has been for the last few years.
He's been incredible, Eamon. He's scored 9 goals in 11 games, 7 in 7 La Liga games, which is equal to record. In his first 7 games, he scored 2 in the Clásico and provided a fantastic assist for Torres, and they were good goals. Like he's been incredible. So he's that man alone has been the difference. Barca couldn't buy a goal until January, and now suddenly in February they scored 4 goals in big wins against Atletico, Valencia, Napoli away in the Europa League, Athletic Bilbao, and another 4 against Real Madrid. So, I mean, having a killer in the team like Aubameyang has made all the difference. And then
now, sorry, Richard, just to go back briefly to Lionel Messi. You mentioned in the piece you wrote for the Irish Times about, the breakdown in relations between a former club president, Laporta, who had a close relationship with Messi. Their families are not talking to each other anymore. Messi has really been terrible for PSG. He was exposed. I'm sure you saw the Madrid game, but he really is having a nightmare, and he's been such a great player. But his salary and the salaries they paid eventually effectively bankrupted Barcelona, didn't they? What was his salary at its highest, Richard?
Absolutely. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. That is the problem with Barca. That's why they're in such dire straits at the moment, and we can elaborate on that in a moment. But just to tease out the situation with Messi. Messi was obviously extraordinary, possibly the greatest player that has ever played the game. Yes. 672 goals for Barca. I mean, it's a ridiculous tally. But he, for good and all as he has been, he's not twice the player Cristiano Ronaldo has been. You can debate the merits and the aesthetics.
All the clubs he's played for.
Exactly. They've been on a par. Aesthetically, Messi is a nicer guy to watch on the pitch, but Ronaldo has been equally effective. I remember in that 2017 Champions League campaign, he scored 5 goals in the quarterfinal against Bayern Munich, 3 in the semi-final, first leg against Atletico to kill the tie, 2 in the final against Juventus. So he's been equally as productive. But all those years in the second half of Messi's, or the final 5 or 6 years of Messi's time at Barca, he was earning twice what Ronaldo was earning. So he was taking home for the last 4 seasons at Barca 130 million. Growth.
That's after tax.
That's before tax. Before tax. So 70 million net.
Right.
But the problem with that is that all the other players around him on the squad were looking to get
that rising boat.
Exactly.
That rising tide raised all boats at Barcelona. That's the problem, isn't it?
So this week, L'Équipe released the figures for salaries at the top clubs around Europe. The best played player in La Liga is Gerard Piqué, 35-year-old central defender. defenders are the worst paid line on a team sheet. He shouldn't be paid more than Griezmann at Atletico or Karim Benzema at Real Madrid. But because of the problem with the weak president at Barca caving into Messi's salary demands, as you say, all the boats rose.
Right.
Like people here in Catalonia make fun of Messi's father. But talk about Jorge Mendes or the super agents. He is the best agent in football. Time and again, he went back to Barca and extorted money out of them for his son.
Right.
So it's landed Barca in a fix, as a result.
Yeah, and given that Xavi now has been so successful in revitalising Barcelona, I think they're actually in a Champions League place at the moment if they keep going.
Yeah.
And he would have had a close relationship with Lionel Messi. They were great players in the same great team at Barca. But in your piece for the Irish Times, you make it clear there's no chance of Messi going back to Barcelona because his time at PSG has been really embarrassing.
Yeah. The first thing is he's got a contract at PSG for 2 years. Nobody gets out of that club alive until they finish their contracts.
Right.
So he would see out the next season. It's World Cup year as well. I mean, he'd be going at half pace at club level for PSG anyway. Would he come back? Theoretically, he could come back after that contract. He wants to return to Barcelona. But would it be a good thing for Xavi Hernandez at that stage? He'll be, 36. And it's not that. It's more just the impact or the influence of him around the dressing room. He just eats up everything.
Is he a good guy or a bad guy, Richard, around dressing rooms? In given his influence is so massive at one stage, I'd say at many stages of Barcelona, he could even decide which coach they bring in and which coach they kick out.
Yeah, he's a silent dictator type. It's debatable. Like we see the situation in Manchester United with Cristiano Ronaldo, these kind of figures that they just dwarf everybody else. Messi is a cranky individual. The younger players feel intimidated having him around. At the same time, he is demanding, he raises standards. So there's give and take there. But like everybody here is saying that Xavi Hernandez is thankful that he didn't have Messi around when he took on the team, because it would have been difficult, assume authority in the dressing room with Messi as a presence there.
Can I just ask you a final question before we move on, Richard, and deal with the Barcelona story, which is a great story. The relationship between Messi and Neymar. I seem to recall reading that when Neymar went to Barcelona, Messi and he were very close, they were good pals, and Neymar is a party animal. And I think I saw a suggestion that for a little while, Messi started going to the parties. Is there any truth in that? And if there is, it means probably it explains why with them both at PSG can't win the Champions League or get anywhere near to it at the moment.
Yeah, they are very good friends, very close friends, and they remain good friends. Neymar is not a benign influence on his teammates from a social perspective. He was, after the defeat to Real Madrid last week, he took off to Barcelona. He still has an apartment here, and he was playing poker for the week. So Messi been, fooling around since he went to PSG. After he won the Ballon d'Or back in December, I think it was, he held a private party himself, had players along to it, and missed training the following day. Mm-hmm. People were giving out about that. But, that was a once-off. Messi isn't
Has his family moved to Paris?
Yeah, they have, and they're not really happy there for obvious reasons. The rain and the cold. Messi can't walk the kids to school every morning as he used to be able to do.
Yes.
It's not feasible. So they're backwards and forwards to Barcelona all the time. Messi actually ran into Javi Hernandez in a restaurant here in January, and Javi was out for his birthday. The players kind of only go to 3 or 4 restaurants in the city, so it's not a huge coincidence. But but I mean, that club up in Paris is just a basket case. Thomas Tuchel said when he left and watching Mauricio Pochettino come in behind him, he said that guy will last a month in this job.
Yeah.
They just can't control the social activities of those players. So yeah, it's the project is a shambles there.
If you're going to party, Richard, Paris is a good place to start.
True.
And let's get back to our story. I'm sorry, I steered you off track there. I mean, Xavi's he's signing now. Aubameyang, for example, I think they might have got him on a free transfer. Arsenal couldn't afford his wages, 350,000 a week. He wasn't playing really for Mikel Arteta, and he's done really well for Xavi. But they've also got Traore, who, reading your piece, I didn't know that he'd been part of the Barcelona Academy before he came and played for Wolves and did very well for Wolves. He's back there now. But they're not really Hollywood signings. This is in the pound shop almost.
Definitely, exactly. Both free transfers. Aubameyang, Arsenal had to pay Aubameyang 8 million just to get rid of him. But it has worked out so well for Barca. He was a plan B. Barca spent all of January trying to get Alvaro Morata from Juventus, but there was a few factors blocking the move. Atletico owned him. They didn't want to sell him to a rival. Allegri at Juventus didn't want to lose him. And they would have needed to get Dembele sold, which didn't work out in the end, to get the money together for a 35 million transfer. So instead they got Aubameyang on a free. It just shows you how random these things are in football.
They can be, yes.
So Traore, another free transfer. He's on loan or until the end of the season. I mean, that's a short-term fix. I don't know whether he'll be there next season. So they were lucky. They did good business in the transfer window, and it has worked out. As you say, these guys aren't Hollywood signings. Aubameyang is definitely a quality player, or certainly what he's showing at Barcelona. And he's, for 10 seasons, he's scored goals at the top level. He's also rejuvenated psychologically Dembele, because they were teammates and best mates at Borussia Dortmund. So that's been a useful side effect. But will they make that Hollywood signing next summer? Certainly they'll try. They're in the market for Erling Haaland. Man City are in pole position there. Real Madrid will also be sniffing around. They're talking about Mo Salah, or Lewandowski hasn't renewed yet for Bayern Munich. They haven't offered him a renewal yet. So they could get one of those kind of Galactico type players. If it depends on how they do their business next summer. Like Griezmann, they have to confirm that sale to Atletico Madrid. Similarly with Coutinho, Aston Villa might buy him for 40 million. He's doing well there.
He's done well since he's been there. Just to go back to Xavi, as you said in your piece, and you just said to us, he hadn't done very much as a coach. He just coached a little bit, I think, in the Middle East for a couple of years. But great players with great football minds don't necessarily need to be coaches. They just have the instinct and knowledge of the game. And it looks like it's working out really well for him. So tell us about a couple of these younger players, Gavi, for example, and Fati. And you've already mentioned Pedri. This young lad, Fati, has been given Messi's number 10 jersey, which could be a great thing or the kiss of death.
Yeah, I don't think it weighs heavily on his shoulders. Like he asked for the jersey,
right?
So it's a good sign. I mean, you can't read too much into these things, but he's just an electric player. He's amazing to watch. He's only, I think it's still only 19. He's the youngest player to score for Barca in La Liga and the Champions League. Youngest player to score for Spain. As an international, he plays centre forward as a false nine or on the wing. He was schooled in La Masia. He's been there since he was 10 years of age.
Which is the Barca Academy.
Yeah. But he's got he got a really bad knee injury November 12 months ago. The club haven't disclosed how many operations he's had. We think it's 3. So he came back from injury back around October, scored in his first game back, brilliant goal, but then got injured again, muscle injury a few weeks later. He'd also scored a key goal in Europe. So yeah, it's just his injury profile. You would worry about him.
Right. Just in terms of where this sort of revitalised Barcelona may end up, there'd still be a long way from challenging Real for the title next season for La Liga, or not.
Yeah, I would say or not, Eamon.
Yes.
Like a couple of things there. First of all, Real Madrid, they've won. They'll win the league title this year. It'll be they won in 2020, 2017, 2012. And then 2008. Yeah. They haven't owned La Liga, so they're not the dominant force domestically. They would have been in the 60s and other decades.
Yeah.
So that La Liga title will be up for grabs next season. Barca definitely will be competitive with them. The situation, I mean, it comes back to money. They have been. There's been a lot of austerity there. They had to get rid of Griezmann on the last day of the transfer market last summer. They obviously shed Messi as well. So they've shed a lot of their heavy salaries. Arturo Vidal, Luis Suarez, even Rakitic, all these players have gone now. So they've got rid of a lot of the old guard, and like you mentioned, they have these fantastic young players coming through. So, like, if you were looking at their squad, you'd say, God, they've a really good midfield now. They've got Pedri, Gavi, Nico, Frankie de Jong, Busquets is still doing it. Whereas Real Madrid, you would worry about their midfield.
Yes, of course, on the grounds of age.
Exactly.
Again, as you pointed out in your piece, although Luka Modric is so good and was so brilliant in that win over PSG, he's 37 next November. But as you say in your piece, he and Toni Kroos would be playing from memory almost.
Yeah.
Just let me ask you something that one of our listeners, Seamus McSweeney, asked us this morning. As I'm sure you know, Gareth Bale scored 2 brilliant goals for Wales last night to see off Austria and take Wales another step closer to the World Cup later on this year. But Gareth Bale in Spain at Real Madrid has been a disaster. And Seamus wants an answer to this question, so do I. How come Bale is so despised? And the Spanish press this week, talking about him, accused him of treachery and all kinds of things. What has gone wrong with Gareth Bale in Real Madrid?
Eamon, it's extraordinary. The guy, he pulled out of the Real Madrid squad on Sunday complaining about a mysterious back injury. He didn't even go to the stadium to watch the game. I imagine he was probably watching this PGA on TV.
Yeah, the golf. He's a big golf man, yeah.
And he shows up this week then, and as you say, bangs in 2 goals in a 2-1 win for Wales. Real Madrid fans are rightly angry with him because he's been disconnected since 2018. On Sunday...
How about Carlo Ancelotti? Sorry, Richard.
Yeah.
I mean, Ancelotti's one of the great managers, one of the great coaches, and indeed was a great player. Never had problems with players, but even he hasn't been able to get Bale on side.
Yeah, totally. Like they would say in Spain, he manages with the left hand. He's a great man manager, great diplomat, great at coaxing the top stars. The kind of manager who does well at Real Madrid, because you need a good man manager in that dressing room. But he hasn't been able to work with Bale. Look, the problem has been on Bale's side. Bale hasn't been available because he's been injured a lot of the season. On Sunday, he was the man they needed as a false 9, as a centre forward. Benzema cried off through injury, and the house of cards collapsed. Then Ancelotti has been getting hammered in the press here because he chose to put Luka Modric in there as a false 9, and that didn't work out. That backfired on him. But Bale could have played in that role. But and he was used in that role a few weeks ago when Benzema was unfit for the first leg against PSG, although he ended up playing. Benzema played that game. But Bale could have done a job there, but he wasn't up for it.
Can you remind us again about his salary?
Yeah, he's the top paid player in the squad, 17 million net a
That's
season.
after tax, netto they call it.
Yeah, and he played a game back in August. He played 1 or 2 games last month, and that's it for the season. He's just dialing it in, and so it's understandable that Real Madrid's fans are upset with him.
Okay, I hope that answers, Seamus, your question, although there are mysteries that remain. Richard, we're very grateful to you for joining us on the stand, as always, and we hope that Xavi has more success and you'll come back and talk to us again about a Barcelona team that is a force in Europe. We're grateful to Richard Fitzpatrick.